Welcome to Great Life Coaching. Today we're going to discuss what a real holistic approach is, or at least in my opinion. Let's get into it. So this video on holistic approach is opinionated. I haven't found real research on what holistic even means besides the definition of a whole approach. I've broken it into several different factors. I'm going to go through those shortly here. But those factors are mental, and this is mental health from a psychologist or a therapist with a master's degree. Another approach to mental would be psychiatry. Then we look at the medical aspect from your MD, your family practitioner, spiritual, and last I added financial. So as I was finishing up my master's degree in counseling, I had to write a bio for my internship, and most of the bios I looked at said that they take a holistic approach. And I've heard that term before, and it seemed kind of like, I don't know, witch doctorish, but it's not. So I wondered, what is a true holistic approach? So when it comes to mental health, the true holistic approach is not to only take care of the things that you came in for, but to also take care of afterwards as well, just, mental health gym, and also take care of your stressors. So years ago when this happened, I would talk to a client, and I was thinking the holistic approach is, let me take care of all your mental health problems. And if it's something I can't handle, let me refer you to another therapist, another psychologist, or even a psychiatrist. But I found later on that approach is not always beneficial. And I say that because of my experience just as seeing therapists myself, seeing doctors, going to appointments with my father, just life experience and what I see people struggle with out there in life. And I was thinking, what's the true holistic approach? So now when you come into my office or we do a teletherapy, I ask these following questions. First of all, what are you here to see me about, and what are your goals? What kind of stresses do you have in life that's not normal? We all stress in life. We have money stress, family stress, but what's really debilitating? Then I ask about any medication you're on for depression, anxiety that I should know about, and that would be from a psychiatrist. Now, mind you, medical doctors can also prescribe that as well. Then I would ask, how's your medical going? And I'll go into another section. And when I ask what your medical is, I mean, are you visiting your doctor? Next, my concern is spiritual, and that's a touchy subject sometimes, but I'll go over that here after a little bit. And also, I'm curious about your financial. Now, I don't ask these questions in the first, second, or maybe even the third. I ask this later on because I feel these are questions that you should ask only when you have a relationship of trust with your client. So once I know that they trust me and they know I'm not going to ask questions just to be curious and talk about them later, these are questions that I have concern about because it's all related to health. Mental, physical, financial, whatever. It's all health related. So that takes care of the first section, mental health from a psychologist or a therapist with a master's level. Next, I have mental health from a psychiatrist. Now, if you go see a psychiatrist, there's certain things you need to know. They are medical doctors. They can prescribe medication when it comes to mental health medication, SSRIs, antidepressants, things like that. But there's things you should educate yourself on as far as meds go. Meds can be something that you take to help until you get the right therapy for it. But also know that when you're on meds that they plateau. In other words, when you take a certain med and it works good for 3, 4, 5 months, and eventually you get used to it, you're going to need a higher dosage or a different type of medicine. Just be familiar with that. Now, psychiatrists do also use therapy, but more than likely they see patients for medications. Now for the medical part, or your family doctor. Now, I don't know what doctors are specifically trained for. I just know from my visits, and I use TRICARE for the military or the VA, and I have had civilian doctors before. Um, so these are some things that I ask as well, just to find out when was your last medical checkup, and that's important because when you go to check your go to the doctor, hopefully they check for diabetes, for cholesterol, for different things that could be affecting your health. So if you haven't been to the doctor in a while, please go. Next is I ask, how's your sleep going? And that could be a mental thing, and it could be a physical thing as well. It could be you have headaches at night, or it could be you have racing thoughts. There could be different reasons for your sleep. Sleep's important because if you're not getting restful sleep, you're not really, your brain's not resting, and it becomes a stressor. Next, I asked, how's your nutrition? And I'm not a nutritionist. I do study nutrition a little bit because I'm diabetic, and I found um, there's carbs and sugar in almost all types of food we eat. So the best way to control that is to eat at home. But what's a balanced diet? Do you know what a balanced diet is? That's something that a doctor can either talk to you about or they can refer you to a nutritionist. Next thing that came up recently with the client, and I spoke to my wife about it, in she has experience with this as well, is your hormones. As we get older, our hormone levels change. They go up and down. Um, Things can change. You have women go through menopause. Just different things can factor in with hormones, and sometimes you can have depression due to a hormone imbalance. So I could be treating you for depression using theories. However, nothing's ever going to happen if you don't handle your hormones correctly. Next is spiritual. Yes, I said spiritual. A little bit background on that with me. I received my master's degree in counseling from a Baptist university. And the biggest thing we learned about is you don't bring religion into the conversation unless the client does. Once the client does, then we can talk about it. And a lot of times it does happen. But if you don't have a spiritual background, and that just is not religion, that could also mean if you don't meditate, if you don't do things to bring yourself down, calm yourself, um, it could be reading, anything like that. If you don't have a spiritual background, that could be a problem as far as your health goes because it causes, you don't have a release to release stress. You don't have an outlet for relaxation. So spiritual is a very important part of your health. Next, we talk about finances, financial. Now, I'm not a financial advisor for any point. Most things I know about finances I watched through YouTube, Dave Ramsey, um, and just from experience for myself. And also, as a child, going all the way through high school, nobody taught me how to balance checkbook, a budget, what credit looks like, how much interest is too much. So I asked the question, how are your finances? And if they don't have an understanding or it's out of control, it's very impulsive or compulsive, I do recommend that they seek help with that with a financial advisor. It's none of my business what you spend your money on, and I don't judge either. But that stress of having bad finances, living paycheck to paycheck, not being able to afford your bills, having to get credit cards when to pay for credit cards and stuff like that, that stress can build up. So this is just my point of view of what I consider holistic. Now you could probably add some or take some away, but this is just experience of my life, experience with school. Again, I'm not certified to talk any of this. This is just opinion. This is my theory. This is my holistic theory. And so anytime you talk to me as a client, be understand that this is something that I will go over. And again, not till trust is built up. But let me know if you agree, disagree, um, or if you want more information on this. Again, thanks for watching Great Life Coaching, and I will see you again.